You're not avoiding conflict because you want to keep the peace. You're avoiding it because you are uncertain about the outcome, and that is scary. You're listening to the Be Better podcast. I'm Harrison Orr. I've coached hundreds of men who can handle pressure everywhere else except where it matters most. This work is about being grounded, present, and self-leadership. One of the most common scenarios in married, high-performing men, in nice guys, in this generation of men is the avoidance of conflict, the avoidance of hard conversations. And it's not through just wanting to keep the peace, right? That's the wanting to keep the peace, not wanting to rock the boat, not wanting to be a bother. That's all the stuff that we tell ourselves to make ourselves feel better about it, right? To make us feel better about avoiding it, to make us feel mature about not starting a fight or any of the other story that comes into it. But the real reason that these conversations get avoided, the real reason for so many men is the lack of certainty and the lack of control. So I want to iterate that wanting to have control is an element, as a trait that serves most people very well in business, very well at work, very well in other areas of life. Like, that's a very logical desire to want to have control, to want to have certainty. And I just got off a call with one of my clients, and we had this really breakthrough moment. He wanted to feel grounded, safe, and confident in hard conversations, in navigating conflict with his wife and everybody else. And this is something that even he wasn't sure how to achieve that. He's like, that's how I want to feel in these moments, but I don't. I get defensive. I come up with stories to justify why I need to get my way, why I need to persuade my wife, why I need to do these things. And all it was doing was stressing him out, causing friction and tension within the relationship, and ultimately nobody felt heard. Nobody felt understood. Nobody even felt seen. And that in itself creates a huge wedge in a relationship, creates a huge wedge in not just a marriage, any relationship, when you feel like the other person does not care about you, does not understand, doesn't try to understand your perspective. And what often happens in these moments of avoiding this conflict, when we dig into the reason, is we want to have certainty of an outcome. We want to navigate this with the perceived note or preconceived idea that I am right, that I have all the facts, that I can prove the other person wrong, that I can get my way, or I can get the desired outcome that I want. If I don't have proof, or I'm not confident in any of those, we avoid it. We get defensive, we shut it down, we try to address an emotional concern, an emotional conversation with logical solutions. And that won't solve the problem. It won't help anything at all. And so in those moments, like, first of all, regulating our nervous system so we can see what's actually playing out here and see the story that we're telling ourselves, and the fact that that's probably not true, that we've just used that to justify our emotions. But when you start to create this separation between you and your parts, you start to create some dialogue with these parts, it becomes much easier to see that this part is just trying to create a level of certainty. This part is just trying to protect me because I'm actually afraid of what might happen. I'm afraid that if I don't agree and say yes to everything, that they'll leave, that I'll get rejected, that this catastrophic event will then take place. Most often with no actual evidence of that being at stake. And so we justify, we feel like we need to defend ourselves. And when you find yourself having to persuade your partner, that should be a red flag for you. If you're having to convince your partner of a viewpoint or of a decision other than where she currently stands, that should be a red flag. That you're not listening. That you're trying to steamroll her, prove her wrong, change her mind without understanding her feelings, without understanding why she feels the way she does, why she wants what she wants, why she has the viewpoint, the decision, the direction that she wants. And as long as we stay in that persuasion mode, we're trying to be like, well, I need to do this to get my way. She's trying to get her way. If I let her get her way, then I'm a failure. Then I've conceded. Then I'm weak. Then I'm all these things. Nobody will win. Because it's like if someone, I'm sure most parents have been there, especially if you're the dad, you might say like, oh my God, I'm tired. And then your wife will say, oh, you're tired. Well, I was up all night feeding the baby and I did this and I'm literally providing its life source out of my tits and just doing all this. And yeah, you're right. But how does that make you feel? Completely invalidated, right? Like, it's not a competition. We can both be tired. I'm just stating that I am tired. I'm not saying that you can't be tired. I'm not undermining anything. But it's frustrating. And it's very, very selfish to just bring that back. But that's what we're doing every single time we are listening to respond instead of to understand. Every single time we are just trying to find logical gaps in her argument, in her stance, to say, well, no, that's not right. That's not what happened. This is what happened. If that happens, then we'll do this and that'll happen. And that's why we can't do it. Right? I can't do this because of that. Completely negating the emotional need and the desire for connection underneath that. And played out on a long enough time horizon, what that energy in having these conversations starts to build is you versus me. It's my way versus your way. Instead of, I want to understand why you want that, why you feel that way. And I'd like you to do the same to me. Like, I'd like us both to fully understand why we feel what we do. And in that, you might actually get to the standpoint of, oh, well, this was all story. And I'm actually really uncertain about that. I don't know how that's going to go. And maybe that scares me. But when we get to that level of depth and honesty, it's no longer me versus you. It's now me and you sitting on the same side of the table. It's you and me against this problem. You and me working together to create a solution. You and me working together to address this, to solve this, to make sure that everybody feels heard and we come to a collective decision. A collaborative decision. Because played out, what happens if one person feels like they just got persuaded? Feels like their argument just got dismantled and the other person got their way? Maybe it's the house that you live in or the location. And then anytime there is an inconvenience, anytime there is something that goes wrong, anytime maybe the garage leaks, maybe there's mold You find out months after you've moved in. Maybe there's these other things, these other structural issues, or there's some zoning issue and you can't put a pool in, or there's these other things that limit you that you didn't foresee at the time. If that wasn't a collaborative decision, if you both didn't decide that we agree for our own reasons and this is going to be the best decision, there's going to be a hell of a lot of resentment, and that phrasing of, this is on you, you wanted this, I didn't want this is your fault, comes out. And that's not a great place. That's not a great energy to have in a relationship of, I want to be able to blame this person if things don't work out. I want a scapegoat to say, well, I didn't want this, she did, so it's her fault. Not a great strategy for a healthy relationship. So if you find yourself trying to persuade your partner, or you feel them trying to persuade you, the invitation is to seek to understand so that you can understand each other's perspectives and then make a collective decision together and then move forward. And if you find that in those moments you are hesitant in having those hard conversations because it's a realm that you don't feel confident in, that you don't feel certain in, and maybe that's why you avoid them, reframing that certainty, recognizing that that's a part of you that wants certainty, that part of you wants to have control over the outcome, because in certain areas of life that has served you. But that same part that wants control, that wants certainty, is the same part that is showing up and inhibiting these conversations and creating a gap between you and your partner and the depth of connection that you want to have. So the goal is not to find certainty, find a way to feel certain about something, because there are very few things you can be certain about in life. Everything is uncertain. But it's, how can I feel safe in uncertainty? I'd equate this to confidence, right? There are certain realms in which most people will feel confident, right? If you're a fitness person, you've been going to the gym for years, you probably feel pretty confident in the gym. You know where the equipment is, you know how to use it, you know the routine, all the things. In your business, you know the operations, you know your department, you know your area, you feel pretty confident after you've been doing it a while. There is difference between contextual confidence and someone who is just genuinely confident in themselves. And so the difference isn't in the environment. The difference in the person is their ability to stay confident even in uncertainty. Same with safety. It's not, I need this to be safe. I need you to tell me this. I need this prerequisite to feel safe. It's, I can create this safety in myself, in the uncertainty, because I can back myself. Because I trust myself to navigate whatever comes up. I have confidence that even if I get fired, even if we don't see eye to eye on this, even if whatever worst case scenario happens, I trust in myself and us as a team to navigate whatever comes up. And that is not situational. That is not contextual. It doesn't have an external factor that needs to be met in order to feel safe and confident. It's internally generated. And when we have that safety and that confidence in ourselves and being able to navigate uncertainty, that's what creates the space that allows our partner to feel safe and confident in us, in our decision, in our direction, in our ability to just handle it, whatever that is. And so we can relate this to feeling calm as well. A lot of men will say that, oh, well, I just need I need my wife to not nag me and I'll be calm. I need my kids to not throw a tantrum. I need this thing. I need to do my breath work. I need to do this thing and then I can be calm. But there's all these external prerequisites. It's also an element of avoiding the trigger. It's trying to create certainty and control. If I control all the variables, then I can stay calm. If I control all the variables, then I'll feel safe. Then I'll feel confident. Cool, just never leave your room. Never leave your room, and then you'll have complete control over your environment. Control over everything. But you'll get bored. And it won't be great. So the goal then is not avoiding the uncertainty, not avoiding the intensity, not avoiding the hard conversation, not avoiding life, but learning to become safe, confident, and trust yourself in that moment, in that environment, in that emotion, that conversation. And that's leadership. That's true masculine energy. Being able to back yourself and navigate the uncertain. Navigate whatever comes up because you trust yourself. You back yourself. You figured it out this much, this far in life. And resting on that. And a huge amount of that is the acceptance of what we can't control. Like, we will stress ourselves out to no end, trying to think of all the variables, try to worry about everything. But acceptance of what we cannot control. And this does not mean relaxing our standards. This does not mean just throwing everything to the wind. It's like, oh, well, I can't control it, so I may as well just not try or just give up or just be a grub. This means that I am going to control the controllables, which is me, my state, my actions, me, and surrender to the outcome. Even in business, there are certain things that you can do to increase the likelihood of your desired outcome, but there's never a guarantee. Like, you can do certain things on a sales call or when you're talking to a prospect to increase the likelihood that they buy, right? As part of the filtering process, the qualification process, the pre-call script, the on-call script, like the things that you send them, like the conversations, the way that you show up, like all these things. But at the end of the day, that human being is a sentient being who makes choices based on factors that you cannot control. And so trying to deceive ourselves that we can is not a helpful approach. It's just going to help that part of you that seeks control and certainty to run the show. And when you don't have that certainty or control, go into anxiety, into over-explaining, go into defense mode, go into all the systems and strategies that it's used to try to control that. But it's often in unhealthy ways. Like we said before, anger is usually coming from that same place. Anger is an attempt at control for most men. When men get triggered by a crying child, by an emotional wife, by something that doesn't justify the level of anger and frustration that they feel, it's not because what's happening is making them angry. It's because in that moment, they are out of ways to control the situation. They do not feel in control with the methods that they have. So the method that has got them control in the past has been to raise their voice, to be physical, to be intimidating, to get angry, and to scare people into doing what they want. So control. But again, that's a short-term play. Because even if your wife, or even if your kids do obey you, do listen to you out of fear, there will become a day when they won't. And then what's left of the relationship? Not much. Are they going to be kids that want to hang out with you and want to talk to you because they like you as a human being, not just because you're dad? Maybe. but maybe not. That's not a risk that I'm personally willing to take. So I really just wanted to share that reframe on how we communicate with our wife, and how we handle hard conversations, and how we navigate the attempt at control and certainty, and bring that to a lot of people's awareness. Like, okay, I'm trying to find certainty in this situation. Parts of me are trying to find certainty and control in this situation. Thank you. Thank you for trying to protect me. Thank you for all that you've done. But I can lead this. I can stay safe in this moment by just being present and backing myself to navigate whatever comes up. If a disagreement comes up, cool. I'll be able to figure it out. If not, then we can navigate that as it comes up. So I hope that's helped you to change the way that you think about these hard conversations, conflict, the part of you that comes up in often trying to avoid these or silence these or suppress these conversations, and maybe just how you can handle them differently. Handle them differently by trusting yourself, by being confident in yourself, by finding safety in yourself and your ability to navigate the uncertain without needing that control. Don't be sorry, be better.